there, Bob from Oregon's Constant Gardener. Welcome to the OCG Fam Show to you, my YouTube buddies. What's going on? Let me know in the comments. Let's talk about it. It'll be fun. Today I got a little bit of a curve for you. Might not have saw it coming. We're still talking about the comprehensive feeding regimen we're going to put together. We're still in the stage where we're talking about all of these different nutrients and how to fit them all together. But Gary Hessedal, who's the rep for these guys, Cutting Edge Solutions, was here. And we sell Cutting Edge Solutions in the store here, but not online. But a lot of people, I don't know if it's a lot, some people that use Nectar for the Gods, and also people that use other organic lines of nutrients, often will say, sometimes will say, hey, I'm having a magnesium deficiency issue, and a lot of times that issue is not in fact a deficiency, but a lockout of some kind. But there are cases with certain strains, certain situations, where there is some magnesium deficiency, and you need a mag thing. You need some more magnesium. And when that happens, actually Scott mentioned this product. Scott Ostrander from Nectar of the God says, just use some Mag-Amp if you want to deal with that. So he was here, and so I thought, why not talk to him about, we kind of talk about the whole line, but mostly about these two products, Sugary and Mag-Amp, which are some products that you may use as part of a Nectar regimen. So I thought, well, hey, he's here. Why not do this? So I'm wandering on, rambling on a little bit. Watch this video. It's Gary Hessedal talking about Cutting Edge Solutions. So watch that. I'll talk to you in a minute. Hey there, we're here with Gary Hessedal from Cutting Edge Solutions. We've already talked about how you use all this stuff together, how you use it if you're going to go with this line. But a lot of why we brought this stuff in was we like the line, but also that a lot of people that use Nectar like to use the Mag-Amp. Yeah. Because magnesium deficiencies are not so much even a deficiency, is that a lot of times you have a genetic that's real hungry for some magnesium, or maybe you, well, for whatever reason, you need some more magnesium in your setup, and this is a good solution for it. So can you tell us a little bit about how you would know that you have a magnesium deficiency and how you would use this to fix that?
Most definitely. So magnesium deficiencies are really easy to spot. Typically you're going to see interveinal chlorosis. So that is the space between the veins of your leaves is going to be somewhat more yellow or a lighter shade of green. Okay. And even though the veins might be green and dark green at that, you'll notice that you're having a deficiency if it's yellow in between those veins. Okay, so the whole leaf is mostly green. The veins are green, but right around the edge of it, it's starting to yellow out there because it's running out, and the magnesium is what makes it green, right? Exactly. So magnesium is actually the central atom of the chlorophyll molecule. Mm-hmm. So without magnesium, you can't keep your plants green. It doesn't work like that. So being preemptive and using a product like Mag-Amp along with the Nectar lineup during outdoor season or indoor season is really helpful to help increase the green content, increase the productivity of the plant, and overall increase production.
So could I use too much? Of course I could, but how would I see that?
So certainly, so there's always a potential for too much when you're using liquid fertilizer. Mm-hmm. What makes it great about Mag-Amp is it's a really low dose rate, so it's really easy to keep your nutrient levels correct by using between 2 and 5 milliliters per gallon. It's easy to make a measurement even for a 55-gallon barrel. You can make that with a 250 milliliter measuring device, relatively small measuring device when it comes down to it.
And if you're in a small grow, you don't need your 32nd of a teaspoon.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So let's just say, with these videos, what I want to do is we're doing a set of videos. We're talking about how to use all this stuff together, so that we're going to take every kind of thing you might use with Nectar and make a big giant chart where you can, instead of trying to add in and figure out how to add it, and you just pull out the ones you don't think you need. So if I were using Nectar, I'm feeding every day except on my tea day and my flush day. And I'm doing a lot of this other stuff on my tea day. I'm probably doing some Photo Plus and maybe some cultured, maybe alternating, maybe using both of them. I'm using Full On, I'm using SLF 100. How would I integrate the Mag-Amp into my regimen there?
Yeah, so I would recommend it on your feeding days. So by keeping it at that low dose of 2 milliliters per gallon, you're consistently feeding your plants a low dose of magnesium. That's going to help keep them green. I feel like plants really like consistency. So by adding it into your normal feeding schedule, you're regularly supplying magnesium to the plant so it can regularly uptake it.
Okay.
By giving one big dose at a time, it's not as helpful as giving them small doses all the time.
I gotcha. So you could, this is part of my feed day.
Yeah.
And so if I felt like I was trying, because I think you're pretty safe that you're not gonna burn with your Herculean harvest. Of course, with Bloom Chaos you can run into some issues, but I've got this pretty dialed in. I don't think I'm going to overfeed. Get that my regimen dialed in, and then maybe introduce this when I feel more comfortable. But would you try to push it? Is there a benefit in pushing it to the edge?
So I think that it's really helpful for both photosynthesis and terpene production. So it's going to help with aromatics toward the end of flower. So using it throughout the entire flowering cycle and even in the vegetative cycle can be really helpful. By keeping your plants green and healthy, you're going to help increase production. Once you get to the point of magnesium deficiency, you've already lost some of your production. Your plant's not growing nearly as fast. So by staying ahead of it and introducing a product like MagAmp, it can be really helpful for the entire flowering cycle.
Okay, so almost any situation, especially if you know that your genetic is going to be hungry for magnesium, you'd probably just start at the start. You'd start small, and you might try to up that some, but enough is what we need.
Most
with this,
definitely,
right? Okay.
Especially with the feeding schedule that you're talking about, I would keep that dose rate of about 2 to 3 milliliters per gallon consistent during your feeding times. And then, if you are noticing problems with the nutrient, you're always incorporating a flush once a week. So that's definitely going to help nullify any kind of toxicities or any kind of overabundance of nutrition in your soil.
Okay, so I see some burning issues if I'm going too far, and I certainly see before that some high ppm numbers.
Exactly.
I'd be going up there. Okay, so I just want to go through low dose, high dose. What would those numbers be per gallon?
So low dose would be 2 milliliters per gallon on the MagAmp, upwards of 5 milliliters per gallon for the high dose. So realistically, this bottle will do between 200 and 500 gallons of solution in just a quart-sized bottle.
Wow. So the life cycle of the plant is, so we've kind of covered the feed cycle, that you do it on your feed days. The life cycle of the plant, how early would you start and how late would you stop, or would you just go all the way through?
So magnesium is really important all the way through the plant's life cycle. I would say the best time to start using it would be maybe halfway through the vegetative cycle, and to continue to use it all the way through the blooming cycle.
Okay. And at some point you would flush it. You get the end, you're going to
at the end, yeah, we typically
when we trail off
stopping
everything else.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Maybe 6 or 7 weeks into flower.
Okay, I think we did another video where I lost my head and forgot what I was talking about, and we were talking about that you said it would be okay to do this on a tea day if you just decide that's how you want to do it. So you're not going to have any Photo Plus or even if you're doing a compost tea, you're not going to have an issue with adding this into that.
Yeah, if you feel like you've got too much fertilizer or not room to add more fertilizer on a feed day, you could definitely incorporate MagAmp on one of your tea days. MagAmp is not going to harm any of your beneficial microbes, and it's going to help be a really good magnesium source for your plants throughout your cycle. Okay,
so I would assume that if I were doing a compost tea and I were going to put it in there, I would wait till the end when I'm ready to pour my tea and I would pour it in?
Most definitely.
Okay, and that's the
it doesn't need to brew at all. It's ready, fully water soluble.
Okay, and also you might be reactive with that stuff, or probably not. It's probably not an issue, but it couldn't hurt to just throw it in at the end when you're ready to put it in.
There shouldn't be any reaction issues, but typically, you don't need it to brew in a tea. It's fully water soluble. You can add it to the tea if you felt like there was too much nutrient going on in your other feeding regimens.
Okay. And I thought of the question I couldn't think of. Okay. It's a good one too. Are you ready?
Oh, perfect.
Obviously, when you're using, maybe it's not obvious, I don't know, with Nectar, real important to have your pH at the right situation. There, the right, like 6.3, 6.4, somewhere, and then a little more up as you go on. So when I do my whole Nectar regimen, what I'm doing is I'm mixing these all up, and then pretty much in order, Zeus at the end, and then I'm doing my Olympus up to pH it. Would I put this in after I pH'd it or before I pH'd it?
You could definitely put it in before pHing. It shouldn't have any pH up or pH down. Shouldn't have an effect on the product itself. It's fully water soluble and it's very stable in solution. So you shouldn't have an issue with precipitants coming out of solution or interactions with other products.
And is it a fairly high pH in the bottle?
It should be a relatively neutral pH in the bottle. Magnesium sulfate tends to be neutral, so it shouldn't have an effect on your solution's pH really whatsoever. But definitely making sure that you're right in the 6.3, 6.4 range
Sure.
after adding is totally a great idea.
Okay. So then we mostly talked about the Mag-Amp because I think that's a lot of what people use. But also I've heard that people the sugary is kind of a nifty thing that they like to throw in there. Why would someone use the sugary, and how would it fit in with a Nectar regimen?
Certainly. So our sugary is a complex carbohydrate product. It's got a couple of different benefits. So it's going to help feed your microbial population in your soil. Those microbes are looking for complex sugars. They help break down nutrients, and in return the plant gives them sugar. So this kind of takes a tax off of the plant. The fungi and bacteria can still break down nutrition, and the plant's not necessarily having to supply them with all the energy to do it. So the symbiosis is kind of helped for the plant's sake by adding a complex carbohydrate like this. Another really good aspect of sugary is in the flowering cycle, it's actually going to help increase aromatic content. So one of the coolest things about sugary is you can smell it right through the bottle. It smells like candy. It's a CDFA certified organic source of complex carbohydrates. So as far as when you would use it, you could use it in a number of different fashions, kind of like the Mag-Amp. The sugary could be a really good food source for your microbes in your compost teas. So you could definitely add it on a tea day in place of something like molasses or something like that. You could also use it on a feed day. This is going to help feed those microbes to help break down that organic nutrition to help give it to your plants.
To an extent is more better?
To an extent, yes. Too much in the way of sugars can definitely cause nitrogen deficiencies in your soil, and that's going to be the same across all complex carbohydrates.
Sure.
Typically for dose rate, we're going to recommend between 10 and 20 milliliters per gallon. I'd say you'd be safe right around 15 at a tablespoon per gallon.
If I'm pushing hard, how many days a week would I do? Less, more days, or more on one day, or how would that go?
I would say you could do the sugary twice a week and be totally safe.
Yeah. All right. What would be? Maybe I already asked this. I don't know. But what would be high? What would be low?
As far as a dose rate goes, I would say low dose rate, you could potentially use it as a flushing agent at 5 milliliters per gallon. High dose rate would be about 20 milliliters per gallon. Toward the end of flowering, it's really helpful to add a product like this in. It's going to help increase aromatics. It's going to help increase the flavor components of your finished product.
And a couple times a week would be a strong dosage. And you might consider doing it on your tea day because you're going to get some more reaction from your stuff that's going on in your tea. And then just one last time, so when would I start using it? When would I finish using it in a cycle?
So the sugary, you can use it throughout the entire vegetative and blooming cycle. I'd say the most important time is during the blooming cycle, but it's really helpful during the vegetative cycle to feed those beneficial microbes. By expanding their population, you're expanding your root system, which is hopefully going to make more fruits and flowers.
So as early as I got a few sets to as late as I got, I'm ready to roll.
Exactly.
And both of these would be a root drench or a hydro solution. They would not be a foliar kind of thing.
Mag-Amp you can use as a foliar if you're noticing magnesium deficiencies. Especially extreme deficiencies, we might recommend a foliar application.
So let me ask you this. So I know, holy moly, I got a magnesium deficiency. I'm gonna put some in the root zone to get it up into there. But I can give them a little IV to get going. Is that what you're saying?
Most definitely. So magnesium is uptakeable by the plant through its foliage. So using it at about 2 milliliters per gallon, that lower dose rate that we were talking about, it's really helpful to help increase the plant's amount of green chlorophyll going on.
So would you do that as a natural thing of pushing the growth of your plant, or would you use that as a safety valve for when you have a problem?
You know, it kind of depends. You can get by using magnesium in a foliar setting and potentially have to use less watering it in. Foliar applications go a bit further than liquid applications do, so you're using less of the product. However, it can be a little bit more maintenance, a little bit more work to do foliar sprays like that all the time. So that's why we recommend incorporating it into your normal feeding regimen to be able to give it to your plant's roots the way they naturally take stuff up.
So standard operating procedure is a couple times a week in my roots, but there are other situations where it might make sense to do that. And there's no bad way to do it.
No, most definitely.
I think that pretty much covers it all, unless we get some questions. And if we do, I'll have you come back in if you would.
I'd be happy to answer.
That's awesome. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay, that was fun. We sure appreciate Gary doing that for us, coming in and talking about that. I hope you found it interesting. So, I'm going to put a link in the description to the video where we talked about magnesium deficiencies with Tim McCormick. And we're going to keep going with this whole thing of making the feeding regimen. We're going to get Scott Ostrander in here at some point. He's super busy, so that's going to happen. I'd like to get Blacksmith in here to talk to them, and then we're going to start working on actually building out that regimen, you and me together. We're going to make that happen. So I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. For more information about anything on today's show, go to our website, OCGFAM.com. And if you buy anything while you're there, use the code OCGFAMShow. It's going to save you 20%, and it's a lot of fun. The OCG Fam Show, it's pretty good. It happens every day. It's the OCG Fam Show. See you tomorrow.